Maybe it's a classic or maybe a flop. Has Katie seen it? She probably has not. She'll sit down and watch it if it's good or it's bad.
Hey, have you seen this?
No, Katie hasn't seen that.
Hi, I'm Katie, and if I had a nickel for every time someone said to me, wait, you haven't seen this movie? Oh my God, you need to see this movie, I'd be very rich. So this is my podcast where I finally watch those movies you all have told me I need to see, and I tell you what I think. Hi, this podcast contains spoilers, and if you didn't know that by now, I hope that you do. So there's that. Okay, I am watching Child's Play, the original 1988 version. I've seen the new one that Mark Hamill did the voice of Chucky in, and that super awesome song, You Are My Buddy Until the End, that hit that my husband loves, and I found a trap remix of it, and now I also love. I'm going to actually insert a clip of it so you can enjoy the amazingness that is You Are My Buddy, the trap remix. The original song is by Bear McCreary, who is an amazing composer. He has worked on a ton of movies, a ton of horror movies, I might add, and I've just always enjoyed his music, and whenever he comes up, I'm like, oh, he did a song for this. This is a remix by 1v1 Beats. So without further ado, enjoy this little sample of the Buddy song, the trap remix by 1v1 Beats.
1v1 on the beat.
You are my buddy until the end. More than a buddy, you're my best friend. I love you more than you will ever know. I will never let you go.
You have to admit, that is a bop. That is a bop. You can listen to the whole thing on YouTube, and I hope you enjoyed the things that I search out on the internet and then share with you. I have this obsession with finding trap remixes of things. It's just something that brings me a lot of joy, so I'm very grateful to any artist who makes trap remixes of anything so that I can then find it on YouTube and really enjoy it. All right, let's get chatting about Child's Play, the 1988 film. Like I said, I've seen the new version of this movie that came out in 2019, and I just discovered they're making a Chucky TV series that's supposed to come out in 2021. That's super interesting. Keep your eyes peeled for a Chucky TV series at some point. But I'm exclusively talking about the 1988 version of this movie, the OG, the original. It was directed by Tom Holland, but I guarantee it's not the Tom Holland from the Spider-Man franchise. I think it's a different Tom Holland. How amazing would that be if it was Tom Holland from the Spider-Man franchise, but I don't think he was probably born yet. Yeah, I looked it up, and if this isn't going to make you feel old, I don't know what will. Tom Holland was born in 1996, so definitely was not this Spider-Man Tom Holland. I recently on my Twitch stream did a SFX makeup look of Chucky because I had seen the new one and I was like, it would be fun to dress up in overalls and do the scarred up Chucky look. On the YouTube version of the podcast, I'll include a clip at the end of this so anybody interested can see how the makeup turned out. And you can find that at KatiePetersPlays on YouTube. So I had fun doing that, and I was talking to my community as I was doing this makeup about, oh, I haven't seen the original, but I saw the new one, and just because of the two movies, the Chucky dolls are very different from apparently the old one to now. I got a couple spoilers from my chat, but I was sitting there doing the makeup and I'm like, isn't Chucky just misunderstood? Because in the new Chucky, a disgruntled employee turns off the safety filters, and that's why Chucky goes haywire and on a murderous rampage because he didn't have the proper software barriers installed or turned on. So in a way, it wasn't really Chucky's fault. And you kind of go, man, Chucky just wants to love people to death, essentially. But apparently in the old one, I didn't know this. Chucky is like a voodoo doll where they put a serial killer inside Chucky's body. And immediately I was like, oh, I need to watch this. So the new movie definitely took a different interpretation. So I don't actually know more about this movie besides it's a killer doll who likes to say, wanna play? Hi, I'm Chucky. I've been working on my Chucky impressions. You'll have to let me know how I'm doing. There's only one actor I recognize in this, and that's Catherine Hicks, who plays Karen Barclay, who was from Seventh Heaven. Hands up if you ever watched Seventh Heaven growing up. That's a tongue twister of a name. I've actually recorded that 4 times now until I got it right. I've deleted the other 3 to save you time. But she played the mom on Seventh Heaven, so I recognize her. Movie's rated R. It's labeled as a fantasy horror thriller, and I'm kind of excited about this. I'm hoping that it'll be good. They've made so many of these, like so many spin-offs, apparently a TV show's coming out, follow-up movies. I know there's The Bride of Chucky, where Jennifer Tilly does the voice of the Bride of Chucky. It's like I know like little clips and phrases from this movie franchise, but I don't know much about it at the same time. So we're gonna dive in. A lot of you have requested that I watch the original Child's Play, so here we are. I guess I'm on a horror movie kick right now, and I'm kind of okay with it. It's been fun watching some of these old horror movies. It's also been a real drag at the same time if you've listened to a couple of the past episodes of other horror movies that I have watched recently. This movie's about an hour and 27 minutes long, pretty standard according to Internet Movie Database, but also, let's talk ratings. Internet Movie Database has given this a 6.6 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes has a 71%. Common Sense Media is back. Again, who the heck runs Common Sense Media? If anybody knows the secret of this company, please tell me. It's a 2 out of 5. They gave a prior movie a 5 out of 5, and I hated it. So come on, Common Sense. Who's the one making the sense of all the common things, okay? Google users, 81%, liked this movie. And just because I can't quit you, Metacritic, I looked it up. Metacritic has given it a 58? What? The ratings for this movie are all over the place. Legitimately do not know how this is gonna go. This is gonna be interesting. So I'm gonna watch the original Child's Play. Another little fun fact, 1988 was the year that I became existent. So maybe in a fun way, I'll be like, ooh, this is a fun movie from the year I was born. I just cracked open a kombucha, which I lovingly call booch, and apparently that means something else to other people. Also sound off and tell me, do you call kombucha booch? It's a thing, okay? It's a thing. I got a nice mango passion fruit flavor. It's a nice crisp fall day here. I think I'm gonna grab a blanket and I'm gonna go play with Chucky. That sounds like a euphemism, but it's not. All right, I'll be back and I'll let you know what I think. I'm here. I watched Child's Play from 1988 last night. There's something else I need to get off my chest. My internet service provider is a giant dingleberry, and I currently have no internet at this moment. Like, none at all. We've had outages for a month. I can't work my IRL job. I can't do anything for Twitch, but I can use my voice. So suck on that, internet service provider, and I'm recording this episode of Child's Play in a desolate, internetless world known as my home. Thank God I watched this last night because I wouldn't have been able to stream it today. Okay, so here we are. I'm going to be talking about the original, the 1988 version of Child's Play, the OG Chucky, which starts out super action-packed in like a cop serial killer strangler fight duel with guns in a toy shop, and where this apparent murderer voodoos himself into a Chucky doll. Okay, I see you, movie. It's kind of crazy, and also it's pretty creepy. The guy who plays Chucky in the flesh and then as Chucky the doll does an amazing job of being just like, ew, I feel uncomfortable about all of this. One of the things I have to get off my chest is during the voodoo, there is that 80s SFX lightning bolt that I feel like most movies in the 80s and early 90s had. I feel like that takes away from stuff. Granted, at the time, maybe that was just some like baller special effects. But when I see it now, all I can think of is Ghostbusters and just that it's kind of goofy fake looking. I think less of the fake lightning would have been good. And honestly, I think from a practical effects and special effects standpoint, that was like the only thing. Everything else, from the explosions to even Chucky, were pretty cool. But I have to say, the voodoo spell that Chucky says, well, he's known as, wait, it was Charles. I can't search it on my internet. Oh my God. The serial killer's name is Charles something, okay? So the doll names himself Chucky. It makes sense. So when the killer is putting his soul into the Chucky doll, that voodoo chant was creepy as hell. And I was like, why is this cop not running over and shooting this guy? Because, come on, this guy's doing some weird Wiccan magic and you're just kind of hiding behind a stack of dolls or toys. So I kind of blame the cop for this because I think he was too busy hiding behind the hottest toys of the season when he should have been running over and probably shooting this voodoo chanting serial killer before he could put his soul into a doll. Just a thought. The other thing too, I kept thinking like, are they gonna repackage this doll and sell it after this giant explosion and the blood that would have been all over it? So it made sense that the mom purchased this doll from a peddler. It checked out for me. I kind of went, okay, from a story perspective, I thought for sure that the mom was just gonna go to a toy store and buy this Chucky doll, but I was like, it was an explosion and it's clearly damaged and probably was full of blood at one point. So it made a lot of sense that the peddler found this and then cleaned it up and resold it for a mere $50, which is actually quite expensive for a doll possessed by a serial killer. Chucky is creepy right out the gate. Chucky comes home. Chucky just has a look to him that you go, no, if I was in a room with that doll on a chair, like say at your grandparents' house, and you're trying to sleep, no, you put that doll outside and you barricade the door. He's a very large doll. I never realized that old school Chucky was literally the size of a small toddler. And can I just say that Chucky goes ahead and kills Aunt Maggie at an alarming rate. Like, I know Aunt Maggie was kind of cranky, a little bit rough around the edges, but like Chucky just full on killed her for what I don't know what reasons, but it kind of makes sense because Chucky's just a crazy psychopath. Also, Chucky can walk so fast. Chucky got some hustle, and that kind of makes sense because Chucky also goes stabby stab and then runs away. But I will say, when Aunt Maggie dies, like Chucky uses a little hammer from a toy set in her eye, and the velocity in which she leaves that apartment window seemed a little excessive, but I'm gonna let it slide. Also, when the cops are there after Maggie dies and the mom's just like, you're upsetting me and my son, please leave. Realistically, even if it was a suicide situation or an accident, the cops would not pack up shop and just go, okay, the mom's upset. Let's just let her clean up the flour in the kitchen with the tiny little footprints in it and just let this go. They would stay there and investigate what happened, but I mean, I'm just going to throw this out there. The detective and police work in this movie is alarming, and I feel unsafe because of it. They were not dotting their I's or crossing their T's. Plus, this little kid, Andy, is just a huge fan of this Good Buddy series. Just wanted a Good Buddy doll. I mean, the actor who played Andy did a phenomenal job. But just how sad it is that nobody believed him. Granted, Andy's saying that Chucky's telling him to do this stuff, and it's a fake plastic doll. But it made me sad for Andy, where I'm like, he's a good kid. You can just tell he is a good kid, and Chucky just shows up and literally goes on a murder spree and takes Andy along for the ride. And also shows how crazy Chucky is. He is just a literal psychopath who doesn't care about anyone. And I feel like this storyline makes so much more sense and made it much scarier than the new 2019 reboot of Child's Play. The new one that had the safety measures turned off by a disgruntled employee didn't really sit well with me. Like, I was like, I kind of get it. I mean, but it just seemed weird that that was the route that they went. And I feel like if they had rebooted with a serial killer in the body of Chucky, you can explain away some of the silliness that might come from this movie of like a killer doll. Because yeah, if the security things are turned off and the special things to make sure Chucky's not evil, why would a doll have that in the first place? Like, why would software have that in the first place? In this, you're like, oh dude, this guy's just a psychopath who voodooed himself into a child's doll and is just not afraid of stabbing or killing anybody. So I feel like this storyline tracks a lot more than in the new reboot. And I also feel like it was scarier because of it. The big reveal when the mother brings Chucky home after her son is committed to a mental asylum to be observed. Oh my God. She gets the box that Chucky came in and the freaking Good Buddy batteries just fall out. Oh my God, when that happened, I literally was like, that is a great reveal. And I was upset about it. I was like, that would be so upsetting to find the batteries and then open Chucky and see that Chucky no longer needs batteries, apparently. And this is when Chucky kind of first talks and he is so vulgar. It just adds this element of, this is just an evil doll. And it is kind of a funny concept, but also, can you imagine being attacked by an evil doll? I think that's probably one of my fears. I don't ever want to meet a Chucky. The way that this movie was filmed, there's a lot of outside stuff. They're in a city. It looks so damn cold. Everything outside in this movie just looked cold. And it made me cold. So my husband and I turned on the heat and I wrapped myself up in 2 blankets. I will say, Chucky works quick. Chucky had a hit list and Chucky was moving quickly down that hit list and using a 6-year-old to help him facilitate his hit list. The whole scene where Chucky's trying to kill the cop in the car was alarming when he's stabbing the knife through the seat as he's driving, and I don't know. All of this was just like, oh my God. I will say the practical effects were pretty darn good in this movie. Some of it was like a little goofy at times, but for 1988 to make a doll function the way that they did, and I believe there was an actor in a Chucky suit who did some of the shots for this, like when Chucky's moving around and doing shenanigans. I will say though, they loved their little Chucky doll hand shots where Chucky's grabbing things or puzzling some things out, finding ways to use his little grabby hands to grab lots of things like keys, knives, oven burners. They used the Chucky hands so much, which I get because back then we didn't have CGI the way that we do now. So they needed to essentially find creative ways of expressing that horrific things are happening or scary things are happening without showing it. Because I think if they did show Chucky more, it could have gotten to the point of, oh God, this is kind of awkward to watch. The movie's kind of playful, which is awful to say, and I think that's why they've probably made more of these, but it's also horrifying. It's a terrifying concept that a doll could come to life and just run amok and have this much control over so many situations. Plus, it's a doll, so of course no one's gonna believe a child saying, Chucky told me to do it. Chucky's the ultimate gaslighter, and I hate it so much. I did think it was interesting that Chucky was becoming more alive as the movie went on, and that he could feel the burn on his face when the cop in that crazy card scene stuck the cigarette lighter onto his face. Also, can we talk about how cars back when came with cigarette lighters? Moving along. But that Chucky goes and meets his voodoo master who taught him how to do this. And the voodoo master guy is just like, you're using what I taught you for evil. Damn. And then Chucky has a voodoo doll of his voodoo master and it's just like breaking his legs. I don't know. This movie just somehow worked. It just works somehow. I will say one more time. I think this one is so much worse than the new one. The plot makes more sense in this one. I feel like the acting's pretty good, and I feel like Chucky is 10 times scarier than in the new one. It's crazy to think how such a tiny doll can cause so much damage. And also, he's gotta be pretty lightweight. Yes, he's becoming more alive, but he's stuffing in plastic. When he's attacking people, why is it so hard for them to fend him off? Is it the surprise that a doll is becoming evil? It was just interesting to see how difficult it was to fight a doll off when it was physically on their bodies. Chucky is very dramatic, and Chucky will not die. I don't know if we can all agree the end of this movie took forever because Chucky was, I'm gonna say it, Chucky is the Terminator. Chucky can never die. I am very curious how Chucky comes back in the sequels because it seemed like they fully killed Chucky. But again, Chucky was burned alive and then Chucky was still on a murder rampage. Chucky got his head shut off. He would not stop moving. How is this small doll so strong? And also, he'll be back. Like, this movie was creepy and kind of scary, but it was also kind of funny. He was kind of like an evil Muppet. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay with him being an evil Muppet. I think they showed just the right amount of Chucky before it became too much Chucky. For 1988, they did a good job with the effects. I liked the story. I felt like it flowed. It made sense. I wasn't scratching my head. They answered a lot of the questions that I had throughout the movie. And you know what? That checks a lot of boxes for me. So guess what? I liked Chucky. Oh wait, it's not. I always think it should be called Chucky. I liked Child's Play from 1988. I kind of want to watch the other Child's Plays movies now. Wait, that's a lot of S's. I don't know if that's right. I'm happy y'all made me watch this. I do think this one's better than the new one, and I'm going to give it 7 out of 10 Heidi Ho's. Also, Chucky's laugh is so iconic. This is one of the better horror movies I've watched that's from the 80s. So if there's one that I would recommend to people, I think I might recommend this one. Thank you all for listening to this episode of Katie Hasn't Seen That. Tell me what other movies I should watch. Come find me on Twitch at KatiePetersPlays, on Twitter at PlayKatiePlay, and pray for my internet. I love you all, and I will talk to you all next time. If you want to hang out with me more, or if you just want to yell at me for my thoughts on a specific movie, I stream over on Twitch at www.twitch.tv/KatiePetersPlays. Also, feel free to follow and chat with me on Twitter at PlayKatiePlay and on Instagram at KatiePetersPlays. Music written and performed by Mark Can Do It. Katie Hasn't Seen That is a part of the Geek Generation Network. Until next time, keep your popcorn warm for me.